In this video, we're going to take a look at the Optimus STA-20 paired with a set of the famous realistic Minimus 7 bookshelf speakers. Okay, so we're going to start with the STA-20 receiver. So this receiver was the lowest end receiver in the realistic lineup from about 1991 to about the end of 95. I don't believe it went much past 1995. Very simple unit, very small. We're talking about 10 inches of width here, and it's AM/FM with a string dial tuner, which is really nice. I really like that feature. We have the powers on/off, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, 3.5 millimeter stereo input connector. When you plug like a Walkman, I guess was back in the day, little the portable CD players or a Walkman, you just plug it in there, and you have input to the receiver. And then we have the tone control, no separate bass and treble. This is just a tone control which raises highs and a little bit of lows. Balance left and right, loudness on/off, volume control. Here's the dial for your tuner adjustment, and then of course your mode switch. So basically CD, tape, phono, FM, and AM. And FM auto was stereo, auto stereo. So pretty neat. Rated at 5 watts a channel. Although I have seen in some other publications that it had a maximum of 8 to 10 watts per channel. The ICs in this rig are 10 watt ICs, so I'm sure it can put out 10 watts, but it's going to be kind of crusty sounding, kind of distorted. Then we have the famous Minimus 7 bookshelf speakers. I know there's a cult following for these. I owned a pair of these back in the day. I also owned a pair of Canton speakers, and I preferred the Cantons over the Minimus 7s, so I got rid of the Minimus 7s. So this particular Minimus 7 is the catalog number 40-2030, and this particular version came out in roughly 1993, and they had about a 2-year run on these things. Back in about 94, 95, I think it was the catalog of 95, they replaced the Minimus 7s and changed these over to the realistic Pro 7, which handled 10 more watts of power. So they went from 40 watts on the Minimus 7s to the Pro 7s at 50 watts power handling, and then they ported the enclosure, which was needed, honestly. Not a bad sounding speaker by any means. I mean, there's a lot worse out there, that's for sure. Quite the cult following on these. There are crossover upgrades, driver upgrades as far as the woofer goes. Haven't seen much on the tweeter upgrade, because really the tweeter's just kind of made in such a way that it's to fit this exact speaker. I think if you wanted to do a tweeter upgrade, you would actually have to use the plastic mounting bezel that this tweeter comes in, and then gut the actual driver itself, and then put another tweeter in there if you wanted a little bit more zing maybe. Overall, these are kind of a flat sounding speaker. You know, they're not bad. They retailed for $49.95 a piece back in the day, so that's not bad, not bad. I did see an advertisement back many years ago for this particular setup, having the STA-20 and the Minimus 7s as a little office type setup, small home office type setup, or something to do at work. I can't remember how that advertisement exactly went. And I do believe they were selling this combo together in the $159, $179 range, which kind of makes sense, so not bad. The STA-20, when it came out, when it was first introduced in 91, it came out at the sell price of $129.99. The following year, in 92, it was reduced to $99.99 and stayed that way till the end of its run. So, kind of interesting. All right, so I'll pause this video. I'll flip this thing around and you can see what it looks like from the rear, and then we'll take a little quick listen to it. Okay, so here's the rear panel. First of all, I want to tell you, I have installed a Bluetooth unit in here directly into the power supply circuit in here, and I have one of my favorite Bluetooth units is the Fusion BT100, and that is directly installed inside the receiver. And I actually put a video out on how to do this, and this method that I did here also applies to a lot of vintage stereo receivers. I'll put a link to it at the end screen here, so stick with me to the end, and then I'll put that little link to that video in there. So on the rear panel, it's pretty basic. We'll start left to right. We have the tape output, so this can go into a tape recorder or any other kind of a line output device. If you wanted to, you could have put this into a mixer. Now this is a fixed output level, so this is not controlled by the front volume control. All right, come on camera, focus, let's go. All right, we also have the tape input. So you could actually put the, the cassette in here. We have the phono input, and this has the built-in phono preamp, which is really nice. On the back here, we also have our tabs here, our terminals for the antenna. This has an antenna that comes with it that is buckled around the power cord. And actually that technique works pretty good. Kind of a neat little thing they did here. This is the EQ setting for on and off, and this gives us a more deeper bassy sound, which is quite necessary for the Minimus 7s for sure. And then of course left and right speaker output, and then we have a non-grommeted hole here for the 110 volt power cord. I do not know why they did this like this. When they punched this hole, they rounded the edges off, so this cord really can't be worn on this, and then the strain relief is actually inside. I always thought that was kind of weird because most strain reliefs are right here on the back panel. And then of course we have the Minimus 7s right here. So we have the little mounting tab here so you can hang them on the wall. Here are the speaker terminals, and then of course the badging here, which happened to be 40-2030s, happens to be this one. Now you could have got these back in like a wood grain cabinet, a wood cabinet actually. I don't remember the catalog number on those, and I believe they were about $10 or $20 more per pair. But these old cast cabinets are definitely, in my opinion, the way to go. They're pretty darn rugged. All right, let's take a little listen to it. Okay, I'm not really a believer in doing audio demonstrations on YouTube. I think it's kind of a waste of time, but it will give you an idea of how this goes. So let's just listen to this tuner here for a minute. We'll just kind of go up and down the band in FM and an AM, and then we're going to do a auxiliary input demo, and I'm going to do the Bluetooth demo on here too.
Hey, at the bar.
I guess I'm pretty glad that you're alone.
Yeah.
Getting crazy at the to achieve, and
That's good enough for FM. Let's go to AM.
It's a real privilege to do it, right?
Now, I'm in a basement right now.
Started coming along. But what's your preferred method right now? We're going to be talking more about that. What is in vogue in your family? How do you exchange money?
Boredom and hatred.
I am kind of a AMDX nerd, and I like to AMDX at night on the broadcast band, and this is a great receiver to do that, especially if you're upstairs.
as a way to expand.
So in the daylight here, I have some fluorescent lighting going on here. We have various electronics on in the house, and it's just nice and quiet. Listen to that.
Platform.
Nice and quiet.
To the show because I have homework to do.
Okay, well, I think we pretty much get that. All right, now let's play around with the auxiliary inputs. Okay, so in this first audio test, I want to show you how loud the tuner function is in FM. Then the next one, we're going to go to CD tape, and that's going to be the auxiliary input. That's going to be the input on the rear and the input on the front. Now keep in mind, I have the Bluetooth hooked up to the auxiliary input on the rear. When you plug your 3.5 millimeter stereo jack into the front, it bypasses this and makes this your auxiliary input. So we're going to do a couple things. We're going to do the FM radio test to get a sense of where the volume is here. We're at about 9 o'clock right here. Then we're going to go do Bluetooth auxiliary, and then I think the last one we're going to do is the tape in. And I am going to change nothing here other than pairing it with my smartphone and going from FM to CD. So let's turn it on, and here we go.
Recuerda que hace mucho tiempo te amo, te amo, te amo. Oh, oh.
This is Bluetooth input from the rear. Nothing's been changed. This is direct feed from my phone through the 3.5 millimeter cable. Okay, so in that test, it was kind of crude, I know that, but the phone, driven with the volume control up at maximum, going into 3.5 millimeter, was a little bit hotter than the auxiliary in through the Bluetooth, and that's just going to be because of the Bluetooth unit itself. Some of these rigs, when you have the inputs in the front, they won't be quite as hot as in the rear. And of course, it also had better frequency response using the phone directly plugged into the front input too. So, you know, Bluetooth is more of a convenience than anything. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of fun. So neat little system here, kind of a little throwback in history. This was kind of, really, I think, at the end of Radio Shack's glory days for home audio. You go back to like 1975, 76, 77, 78, 79. Man, they were putting out some really gnarly stereo systems. Remember the old Mach 1 speakers and the big STA? I think it was like the STA-20 receiver, and I think that was like 75 watts a channel. And, you know, when we started getting into the early 90s, 91, 92, home theater was starting to come out, and two-channel audio was just kind of becoming a thing of the past. But it's kind of neat that they kept this little mini receiver in their lineup for a while. Obviously, there was a lot out there. They sold a lot of them, and this little setup here really isn't too bad. I would have liked to have seen separate bass and treble though, but with the loudness and the EQ setting on the rear, it kind of makes up for it. I've read on some of the audio nerd sites, you know, people really like this system and the loudness control and the EQ control makeup, and make these things sound really actually bigger than they are. And quite honestly, I kind of think that's horsepucky myself. But this, you know, it's kind of a neat little system to play around with. This would be a great system for the kids or something. Maybe some of the younger ones, you know, if they're just trying to get into hi-fi. This on a little, oh, I don't know, a little entry-level turntable like that little Denon DP, I think it was 26 entry-level turntable or something like that, would be a great system to start a young one off into the exciting hobby of hi-fi. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for sticking with me, and have a good one.